Hi, thank you so much for your interest in our webinar recording. If you have any questions or concerns after the webinar today, please feel free to reach out to us and check the description box below for links to schedule a demo and learn more.
So a little bit about me, guys. I'm an entrepreneur, an investor, and papa. I call myself a papapreneur. I started in 1998 and I launched my first e-commerce company. And then eventually through the dot-com bubble burst in 2001, I transformed that into a digital marketing agency. So 2001, that was like kind of the dinosaur era of the internet. There was no Facebook, there was no Instagram, there was no Twitter, there was no Snapchat, there's none of those things existed. It was basically Google and Yahoo and those kinds of players. Amazon were kind of the big players at the time, and they were just kind of getting started as well. I met Chris Murray a few years ago, and I knew nothing about the childcare industry, but it just happened my eldest son was about 18 months at a time, and we had just started looking for childcare. And so it was just kind of fortuitous that I met Chris through a marketing mastermind. And the childcare industry kind of just blew me away. I didn't even know it was a thing. I just never noticed how many preschools and childcare centers there were around. Now everywhere I go, I just see them. So we co-founded Grow Your Center to help serve the industry. Chris was always trying to recommend marketing support to her coaching clients, and there was everyone she recommended kind of dropping the ball, didn't do a very good job. I had just sold my agency in 2014 and was looking for something new, so I was just doing some consulting, and Chris and I just got along like two peas in a pod. We're actually like almost identical human beings. Every time we take a personality profile, like a DISC or Myers-Briggs or predictive index or something, we always end up with the exact same score. For the last number of years, we've had an absolutely phenomenal track record of filling childcare centers to 100% full, and then some, build wait lists, and then helping our clients expand from 1 to 2 to 5 to 10 locations over the last few years. And like I mentioned, I'm a father of William. He just turned 5 like a few weeks ago. He's in the bottom right, obviously. And then Lucas, my second, is 11 months old. Actually, he's turning 1 in exactly 2 weeks. So back-to-back birthdays. So goals today. We're going to show today the 3-step marketing system that'll consistently generate new parent leads. So when we talk about it, I don't talk about kind of tactics. Talk about building an actual system, because when you kind of do things ad hoc, you get ad hoc results. You actually get mediocre ad hoc results. But if you build a system and you do it consistently, then it's something that works for you continuously while you're sleeping, while you're working, focusing on other things. So that's what you want to develop in your business. You want to turn everything you can into a system. I'm going to give you guys our I call it a never fails marketing strategy that I've been deploying for, I don't know, like 18 plus years. Now I think we'll still live on for decades to come. It's a general kind of philosophy for how to think about advertising and marketing, and it's applicable to anything, whether it's digital or signage or events or anything you can think of. It always kind of works the same way, and I'm going to walk you guys through that. We're going to show you where to advertise and what is it, an absolute total waste of money, which is also kind of key. So not just where to go to spend your dollars, but where not to go and waste your dollars. And we're going to walk you through each of the steps in the 3-step marketing system and give you some tips and best practices around each one. And of course, at the end, we're going to make you an absolutely unbelievable offer to get your business, your center, just bursting at the seams starting today. So if you're a lot of you guys with kind of the pandemic kind of starting to wind down, things getting back to a little bit more to whatever new normal is, and you're probably finding some people walking in the door, but maybe not all of them are keen on registering. I'm going to show you how to get hot leads and forevermore always get hot leads. People who are so excited to show up and enroll and tour your facility that your enrollment rate will skyrocket. Even if the same number of people are coming in the door, your enrollment rate will go up. But I'm also going to show you how to double or triple or quadruple the number of people coming in the door. So you'll forever not have to worry about enrollment ever again. So as I mentioned, a proven system. So guys, a couple of things about building a system and just doing anything in business or in life, maybe there are really no quick fixes. There's no gimmicks. There's kind of a good old roll up your sleeves and get her done kind of stuff. So I'm going to show you tools, tips, some ideas, things like that, platforms, tell you, kind of guide you in the direction you should be going. Now, obviously the devil's in the details of executing on this. But if anyone's trying to sell you a bill of goods, like, do this and you'll get this result. And it seems really simple and straightforward. It's likely going to be just a waste of time and money. Been doing this for a very, very long time, since 1998. That's like 23 years. And I've never seen something that is a quick fix when it comes to marketing and advertising. Sometimes you get lucky with something for a little while, but for the most part, you're gonna have to try, test, figure out what works. So I'm hoping to give you guys kind of some of the advantages from the big picture so that you can get started in the right direction. So here's some of our clients that kind of achieved some of the results. Leaf Spring School out in Geist in Indiana came to us. They were about 68% full in June of 2020. By January, they were 98% full. They added like 140 kids in their 200 and something capacity school. It's a pretty big school. We work with schools from like 50 capacity to, having multiple locations with hundreds of kids. They dropped during the pandemic, as maybe some of you guys did as well. They were dropped to about 40% on average during the pandemic. And then since October, they've been climbing back up. And now, as of May, they're over 95% full. Actually, that might even be higher now. I think right now we're trying to fill their summer camp. And I think that's actually either full or very close to being full. And we're trying to get enrollments for September, actually, for fall right now. Small Wonder, she's got 5 locations, and she just emailed me. She says, we're bursting at the seams. I was like, great, open a 6th location. Magic Memories, they went from 3 locations when we started with them. Now they have 9. That was just over the last couple of years. One, they started from scratch. The third one, the next 6, they ended up buying and turning around. But the one started from scratch in 14 months, went from 0 to 60, then 114 full-time equivalents, and kind of filled the school. I think their capacity is at 124, 126. They also declined during the pandemic, and now they're bouncing back nice. Courthouse Academy out of Virginia Beach, they maxed out their summer camp the last 2 years. Already for this year. I think they're close to being full. Their preschool is 100% full. Their elementary school is 100% full. They go from infants all the way to grade 5. They actually went to grade 3 when we started with them, added grade 4, added grade 5 as we keep expanding. And today, they have the highest September 2021 pre-registration they've ever had in their 30-plus year history of their school. And that was during a pandemic, guys. When you advertise and you market and you do it consistently, even through a pandemic, you come out on the other side smelling like roses and sipping the gravy. Champagne, maybe. I don't know. I don't think you'll sip gravy, but whatever. Premier Learning Academy out in Arizona. So just give you guys a scattering of clients all around United States. They've added $26,000 a month since within about 4 months of getting started with us. They're a school of about 124 capacity, I think. They were burning about 14K a month during the pandemic, having lost some kids, and gone about half their capacity. And now they're back up. Just got off the phone with Ilana, the lady, the owner, her and her sister. She's the one on the left, 2 nights ago, and she said they're crushing it. So they're actually looking for enrollments now for August when school is back in session. So guys, it's a system that works. We have 150 plus clients. It's just like a small sample of some of the success stories. It's just something that works. I'm hoping you guys kind of, I can provide you guys enough value today that you can get a really great starting point and figure it out. But really, I hope you can model it. Hope you can take some of what I tell you, implement it, and I promise you, it will get you results if you do it consistently over time. So without further ado, let's just kind of dive right in and kind of share with you what the 3 steps are. So the first thing you got to do is advertise to prospective parents. Seems kind of obvious, but it's very rarely done. So of the 150 clients, I think maybe we had like 10 out of the 150 were actually consistently advertising to prospects. People would post things on their Facebook page, but most of those people are your existing parents already who are seeing it. So you have to spend ad dollars to push that content to parents who have never heard of you in your community. Maybe they've heard of you, but don't remember you. Maybe they've seen you driving, driving by your space, but they never really paid attention. You've got to continue continuously advertise. You got to think like Nike and Apple and Starbucks and whatnot. They never take their foot off the gas. They never stop advertising. They're continuously for 40, 50 years, for however long those companies have been in business for some of them. I think Nike since the 60s, Starbucks since the 70s, Apple in the 80s. They're always got their foot on the pedal. As a local small business, the same thing applies. It's just an orders of magnitude smaller ad budget. You're spending $500 a month, they're spending 500 million. But it's the same idea. Number two, you got to get the hot lead. So not just inquiry, you got to actually convert that lead into a high level of interest. And I'm going to share with you the marketing strategy that's going to do that. And then number three, and this is super critical. Somebody once said, all the money is in the follow-up and the follow-through. You got to follow up. Once you get people into your system, you got to have a sales cycle that actually closes them. You got to answer the phone, give a great tour, follow up afterwards, warm them up even before, send them reminders. We're going to go through a lot of those details. These have exponentially greater impact on your business than you can possibly imagine. Every little one of these things has a lot of detail within it. Get some of the details right, and you're off to the races. As long as you do all three, you can actually do it like a solid 6 out of 10, and you'll get great results. All right, so let's look at kind of to give context to everything we're doing. Let me kind of give you an example of what the parent market looks like. So we've been advertising for childcare for quite a while, and this is kind of what it looks like. 95 to 90% of the market is currently not ready for you. So the parents in your marketplace of 0 to 5-year-olds, for example, are not actively looking for childcare services or preschool. 3 to 5% of them means that they're what we call in market. That time they spend in market depends on where you are. In some places, like in Nashville, it's like a 2-year waiting list to get on any kind of childcare, a good childcare center preschool. So people are in market 2 years before they actually need you. On average, it's about 6 weeks. So there's like a 6-week window when people start thinking about you and you becoming top of their mind. Like, oh yeah, my mat leave is ending shortly. My mother-in-law is leaving. I got to get someone to take care of little Johnny. And now they start thinking about that. Or, you know what? I've had my son with us for 2 years. It's time to get him socially, some friends, build some social emotional skills, get him ready for kindergarten. Let's look for a great place, that he can get some of that. And it's about a 6-week window on average. Some places more, some places a little bit less. We have a couple of clients in certain markets that it's literally so last minute. It's makes me chuckle. So when you look at it from that perspective, you can think of this like childcare is very different than like buying a car or a house or a new furniture or a new pair of shoes or a dress or something like that. It's really a high level game of trust. People are leaving their children with you. It's like, and they're young and had them coddled to themselves for the last months or years. And now they're going to trust someone else with them. Even if sometimes it's like a huge relief, like, thank God. I got to get him from underneath my feet. Like Lucas is now 11 months. He's been walking for the last month and a half. And now he's walking a lot faster and he's climbing things. And it's like, okay, he's now 10 times more difficult to handle and having to watch him when he was just if you plopped him down, he just sat in one space and maybe rolled a bit. So as much as you would, as much as a parent wants to spread their own wings and get some freedom back in time, it's still a huge game of trust. So the game of trust in a marketing sense is getting to know, getting to like, and getting to trust you. So before trust builds, people have to know who you are. Then they have to like who you are, and then trust comes. Now, if you're just pursuing the people in a 3 to 5% range, you're trying to get that done in a very short amount of time. But if you can do that across the board, then from before they need you, and then when they do need you, they've already kind of gotten to know you and liked you already, then you get way better results. And people show up, not just like curious, but highly interested in who you are and what you have to offer. So from the 95 to 97%, we call it in the marketing space, we call it brand building. And what we call it is deploying goodwill. So giving people advice, sharing ideas, giving them content, just kind of giving. For the 3 to 5%, what we're looking there from a marketing advertising is what we call a direct response. We're looking for them to take an immediate action, book a tour, call you, reserve a spot. And we call that hunting. So the whole thing together is called Goodwill Hunting. And this is our strategy that we've kind of developed many, like a decade and a half ago. And I've used systematically for almost any kind of business organization you could possibly imagine, whether it's for like getting people to vote more, or awareness of a social cause, or recruiting for a college, or for a business, and selling anything you possibly imagine. It's the same kind of strategy that applies. And if you think about it, it's exactly what we're doing today. Today, this whole session is 95% about deploying Goodwill. So on the Goodwill side, you're kind of building your brand, you're growing your reputation, and you want to get remembered in a positive way. That's kind of the outcome of Goodwill. That's how you kind of measure it. People remember or have a positive association with you. And you do that through providing value. You're just giving without the expectation of a return. Hunting, on the other hand, is where what you want to do is you want to get a lead or inquiry. You want to get parents to raise their hand and say, yes, I'm interested today in what you have to offer. And that could be a cold lead if they've never heard of you, or it could be a hot lead if you've deployed a lot of Goodwill and they have heard of you in a positive way. And here is where you present your value. And here's where you ask. Now you look at the ratio. It's give, ask. That's kind of the ratio of what you want to be marketing. It's kind of a 60-40 to 80-20, depending on the time of year. So during low interest times, which is about now, usually we do 80% giving and Goodwill and 20% hunting. During high interest times, like in the, coming back to school about 45 days before your school starts in the summer, and then December, January, those are high interest times for people looking for childcare and preschools. That's where we rebalance it out. We do more, maybe 60-40 towards hunting for a few weeks, and then we kind of dive it, deploy it back. And when I say 60-40, 70-30, 80-20, what does that mean? It means how much money you're spending on advertising. So if you're spending $1, 80 cents goes to Goodwill, 20 cents goes to hunting. To summarize the strategy, it's the more you give, the more you get. Might be a philosophy of life, actually. All right, so step one, if we're advertising, what does that look like tangibly using this strategy? So here's some tactical platforms. You got Facebook and Instagram. So whenever I refer to Facebook, I also always mean Instagram. Instagram and Facebook, Facebook owns Instagram. So whenever you're advertising on one, you can do so through Facebook's advertising platform to both of them, to both Instagram and Facebook. And which one works better is depends on where your market is. We have some where 60% of the leads are coming from Instagram, and others where 60% of the leads are coming from Facebook, but it's fairly well balanced. Pinterest is another opportunity, YouTube, and TikTok. Those are kind of the three platforms where you'll find millennial parents, and between 80 and 90% of the parents today are considered millennials. The other huge platform you have to consider is Google advertising. It is by far the most mature digital advertising platform. They've been around since 1998, 99. It's kind of when I started. And one of my very first app platforms I ever used was doing pay-per-click search ads on Google Ads. Another big one is your Google My Business listing. I'm going to talk a little bit about that. That's more of an organic platform. You can't really pay to advertise there. But it's really important to mention because it's a kind of a key threshold of success, and it's one we'll pay attention to. Other things you can do is kind of giving away promotional materials. Posters can work, especially like put up a poster in a grocery store or coffee shop, little tearaway tags, things like that. We've seen those generate great responses as well. Billboards, postcards, where you get postcards mailed out to address, and Yelp. are useless. This is where you do not want to spend a dollar or a dime. Of 150 clients, I think we've only seen one that had a billboard that she swore by, but then when the billboard went down, she spent the same amount of money on digital advertising on Facebook, Instagram, and Google. It basically increased, it almost doubled her lead generation. So was the billboard working? Yeah. Is it better to spend money on something else? Absolutely. It's just really expensive usually to rent a billboard. That doesn't mean signage. If you've got, if you're on a busy street and you've got a nice sign or even a temporary sign, those can work really well as well. So these are great platforms for deploying and building goodwill. So Facebook, Instagram, Pinterest, YouTube, and TikTok. You got to imagine if you've ever been on any of these platforms, there are places where you go and kind of eat up some content. We only focus on Facebook and Instagram because there is a far more mature advertising platform. There's more people, more consistency, and cheaper. It's just cheaper to get results there. And so far, we have not had to delve into the others. So where I would recommend you spend your time and money is on Facebook and Instagram and forego the others. Though if you like to dabble and try, let me know how it goes. I'd love to hear some success stories there. What does Goodwill content look like on those platforms, especially on Facebook and Instagram? We use this kind of tactic called 3H, helpful, heartfelt, and humorous. Helpful content is something that, here's how to help your, tantruming, transitioning 2-year-old, toddler, some advice on how to help them from moving from activity to activity, room to room, place to place. Heartfelt is something that's a little bit more, ooey gooey, something you might, teacher appreciation, appreciating on moms, things like that. Something cute, adorable. And then you've got humorous. Humor always plays really well. My suggestion is you always keep it positive. We avoid doing it like any of the wine mom stuff, moms drinking wine to contend with their life of having children. We avoid those kinds of things. I don't think you want that kind of negative brand to associate with, with your childcare center. It's up to you, but that would be my recommendation. I would always stay positive and inspirational. When we deploy Goodwill content, sometimes we'll write what we call mini blog posts on the post. A lot of people say people don't read on the internet. It's not true. People will stop and read what they're interested in. So if you write something cute and interesting, they'll stop and read it. We had tons of comments on this post. If people had to click to learn more to see that whole thing, they read it. It was a little bite-sized chunk. It was a really cute story. It had some emoticons breaking things up, etc. But we had people comments about the post how much they enjoyed reading that. They won't read it all. Not all people will read it, but the ones that do, you've just built a great bond with. And it's like almost having a conversation with them, but it's they're doing it on their own. So they're getting to kind of know you and like you and building that trust. Here's some more creative content. We've done videos on how to help your kids eat more veggies, the power of literacy and reading to your baby, not just your toddler. Now, all of these go on both Facebook and Instagram. So that's actually a great question, Grant. When we make a video, we make it under 1:10. So that way it plays on both Facebook and Instagram. We also make videos that are under 15 seconds, 10 to 15 seconds. So that way you are, you can run those as ads on, in between other Facebook videos. So if you've ever been on Facebook watching a video and it plays a 12-second ad, you'll have, if you make a piece of content that's 12 seconds, it'll play within that as well. Some of the Goodwill content is generally a little bit longer, 30 seconds to a minute, and our hunting content is usually shorter. Here's another one on how you can make, using popsicle sticks, make your own puzzles at home for your toddler. So a couple of things here to kind of highlight. One is that we always have what we call a soft CTA or call to action. So at the bottom of your post, always add your URL. When you advertise this, you'll also add a learn more link to the bottom of the ad. It's in with the ad platform. It's an option you can select. You don't have to say for booking a tour, if you're interested. I leave that stuff out on the Goodwill content. We just put the URL. You also lightly brand it with your logo, but at the end of the content. Do not put things at the beginning of your videos. You do not want like an entry reel. People aren't sitting with popcorn in a movie waiting to go through the credits. If there's, you have to capture their interest in the first 3 to 5 seconds, or else you're going to lose it. If the first 3 seconds you're showing your logo, you've lost them. You got to jump into the content and what your hook is immediately. But you can put the logo at the end. That's a great place for it. So what does hunting content look like? On Facebook and Instagram, you can start posting things like, these are pre-K ads for a spot in Florida. You only have 12 spots left. It's an infant program. It's transitioning. It's a preschool program. If your child is turning 5 before September, they can enroll in the special summer program that get them ready for the transition to kindergarten. So it's a kind of a unique program, but it's purely a hunting. The idea is you're looking for people, you're calling it out. So is your child turning 5 before September? We call that a dog whistle ad, where you're looking, you're trying to find the people that have kids are turning 5 before September. So 4-year-olds. You're also indicating how many spots you might have left, and encouraging, like, we only have a few spots available. So you're adding some scarcity to it. You're telling them what it is. So you're no longer kind of beating around the bush. Well, I call these kind of Captain Obvious ads. We're looking, enrolling now, today, only 12 spots left. Call immediately. I would put 12 spots, cross out 9. Those are kinds of ads, or hunting ads. You can also do a hunting ad around key unique selling points. So if you're if your school is known for literacy, we do these ads like your child falls in love with reading. We have other schools that push a STEM curriculum. So we have ones that are falling in love with science and math and things like that. And for certain markets, those really play well because that's what they want their kids involved in. Big IT market, for example. What else does it look like? Well, we have a very strong call to action. You'll notice that we use these kind of double fingers with the URL twice in a row. You don't have to use the double fingers, just makes the URL stand out a little bit more. But we always put it twice, so it's super obvious. You'll notice also on the left ad, the first URL always appears above the see more. So you don't want them below the see more where you want where the call to action is. You notice this ad is also talking about being clean and safe. So we just can't, during middle of a pandemic, this was a key message. It still is. Some markets, it's always a key message. Safety and cleanliness is kind of a key selling point for who you are. Today, that's huge, obviously. You can also put your phone number there as well. Facebook on mobile phones will turn that into a clickable, callable number, so people can actually click on that number and dial. Thing about hunting on Facebook and Instagram is you can't just do that. If you do just that, and 95 to 98% of people ignore your ad, Facebook will stop showing it to those people, because Facebook doesn't show ads to people who aren't engaging in those ads, liking, commenting, sharing, etc. That's why the Goodwill is not just a good strategy overall to get people to know, like, and trust you, but also it actually fits into what social media platforms are looking for, which is great content to share with people. So it's not just a requirement for a good strategy, it's actually a requirement to advertise on Facebook. If you only do hunting ads on Facebook within 6 to 8 weeks, you won't get anywhere near the same results as you did in the first few weeks. It'll peter out, and then that parent market, which isn't very big and doesn't move very much, will be lost to you for at least a year or two. It kind of Facebook just won't let you advertise to it if you're not getting great engagement from it. So what else is great hunting? What's a good hunting platform? Well, Facebook and Instagram are hunting platforms. Google Ads and Google My Business are basically pure hunting platforms. So let's take a look at those. So Google Ads are the ads that appear above the search results when somebody does a search for daycare in Alpharetta in Georgia. These are the 2 ads. This is actually our client up here. The Google My Business listing are the listings that happen in the maps area below. So if you take a look at those 2, those dominate the first page of almost any Google search listing for local business. So it's going to be a Google My Business listing, or it's going to be an ad. You definitively want to be in the ad. You can pay to play there To get into the Google My Business listing, that's called search engine optimization. It's really kind of really like a black box. You can do a whole bunch of things to try and get listed higher, ranking organically higher on Google. It may work, it may not. We don't rely on that, but we do encourage you to create a good Google My Business listing, because people will eventually maybe click on your ad, see that you're the Christian Arc Academy or Children's Arc Academy. It will search for you. So this will turn into Children's Arc Academy. You will pop up here. And then what's the first thing they're going to look at is how many Google reviews you have. You want to get to the point where you have over 100. If you have a childcare center of 50, that might take you a couple of years. That's fine. If you have a childcare center of 200, you definitely this year want to get over 100 Google reviews, and preferably 4 and 5 stars. So advertising, Facebook, Instagram, Google Ads, and even your Google My Business listing. Where does that take people? Or referrals, or word of mouth, or a sign, or an ad in the newspaper. Anywhere you advertise, what's the first thing that people are going to do? They're going to check out your website. And that, folks, is where you turn a cold lead into a hot lead. So here's one of our websites for Brighton Montessori up in Michigan. Your website is where you're going to make the first major impression. If Laura, you just asked if it's only good for 6 to 8 weeks. It's only good if you're only doing hunting. The idea is you want to do hunting and Goodwill in parallel at the same time, always at the same time. I'm going to show you what that looks like in a few minutes. So basically, you want to continuously be doing both at the same time. So you want to split your ad budget. If you're going to spend $10 a day, you do $6 on Goodwill, $4 on hunting, and your ads are running to the same target audience all the time. Our targeting is a lot more sophisticated than that, but that's kind of a good starting point. If you target, women aged 22 to 40 in your market, in your, or like a 3-mile radius around your center, I would do 2 campaigns, and I would do $6 a day for Goodwill, $4 a day for hunting, and I would deploy all your Goodwill content to the Goodwill, all your hunting ads in the hunting, swap the Goodwill ones out on a weekly basis. Hunting can be a little bit less often. They last a little bit longer, but that's kind of how you want to do it. You want to do both at the same time. So if your website is the first place people make the major first impression of you, you really got to make a great impact. It's a hugely meaningful piece, not just visually, but also what's written on there. That's why long form sales copy works extremely well. Folks, this is the website. This is how long it takes to scroll through it. It's about like 7 or 8 pages long. When we first started this, people thought we were crazy, but our results more than speak for it. So the average time people spend on a childcare website is about 45 seconds. Depending on the size of the site, it can be as little as like 26 seconds and as much as about 54, 55 seconds. We've rarely ever seen a client come to us that had more than that. The average time people spend on a Grow Your Center website is just over 3 minutes now. It used to be about 2 minutes, 15 seconds. And over the past year, we've gotten it over 3 minutes by just adding a little bit more features, making things a little bit, tighten up our copy, things like that. That means people are stopping to read and check things out and clicking and doing things and taking action. What has that resulted in? Data on 150 plus websites we manage now is that the more time people spend on the website, the way more likely they are to turn into a lead and more likely to turn into enrollment. It is very appropriate, Beth, to ask parents to do a Google review. Extraordinarily, absolutely appropriate. You can even bribe them. Pictures of children are amazing, Charlotte. And yes, you can ask permission from parents. You can actually build it into your enrollment forms to get them to opt out of having their picture taken. And what you do is you get them to a box that says they want to opt out of you using their picture on social media and in your advertising and marketing. And if they want that, they have to fill out a whole separate form, which asks them for their name, address, etc., all over again. And 99.999% of people will opt in at that point. And most of our clients do it that way. And it's never been a problem. So what does that content on the middle page looks like? Well, it's very well written benefit statement copywriting. So what does that benefit statement mean? It means routines establish security, trust, and lasting relationships. That means you're not just saying that you guys do, establish great routines, but why? What's so good about routines is that they establish security, trust, and lasting relationships. You support your child's learning with our parent communication app. Outdoor play engages muscles to master coordination, balance, and stamina. So you're not just talking about what you're doing, but why it's of benefit to either the child or the parent. So you want a positive outcome from that. That's called a feature to benefit statement. So the feature is outdoor play. So you have a great playground. The benefit is, coordination, skills, fresh air, whatever. You want to include all your unique selling points. That's what USP stands for, unique selling points. So what makes you guys unique, stand out? If you have a great food program, great curriculum, parent communication app, low student to teacher ratios, et cetera, whatever it is that makes you guys stand out and unique, you want to basically list those out and spend a few minutes speaking about it. You want to end a homepage. You'll notice on a lot of our pages, we don't have actually any links between the top and the bottom. They scroll through all of this before they actually get to a link. At the bottom, it asks them on the homepage, asks them how old their child is. So where every parent comes to a childcare website with a specific age child in mind. I've got a 3-year-old, I've got a 2-year-old, I've got an infant. What you want them to do is you want them to click on one of them, click on toddlers, for example, and then they start the whole process again. They go through the whole toddler page and it's talking about unique selling points about toddlers, the toddler program. It's a lot of repetition from the homepage, but it is written for toddlers. So how's your food program related to infants or toddlers or preschoolers? How is it different? How's your curriculum different? How is your outdoor area different? What are the things that make the toddler program unique and different? Then at the bottom of that page, excuse me, is a call to action, book a tour. So now they've gone through 2 long scrolling pages. They've stopped and read a bunch of things, and now they're actually interested in booking a tour. This, folks, is how you get them from lukewarm, curious, to red hot, ready for you, because you've just sold them at everything. Now, here's the thing. Everything there is written in little bite-sized chunks. It's like social media. People only stop to read the things they're interested in. So what happens, and this is like almost every client has reported this to us, is that moms and dads come in for a tour. Well, in the days they could come in, talking to you virtually now maybe, and moms will know some things about you and dads will know other things about you. And so dads stop to read some parts on the site and not others. And moms stop to read other parts of the site. And guys, there's only maybe 20% overlap between moms and dads. And it's always not super obvious which things that they're more interested in. The other piece on websites, guys, is it's got to be not just mobile friendly. It's got to be like super mobile awesome. Because 70% of your first time visitor, like across the board, this is consistent. It's anywhere between 68 and about 78%, average is about 70%, like almost right on the dot, of your first time visitors coming in on a mobile phone. So they're on Facebook, they're scrolling, they click on one of your ads, they see your site on a mobile phone. So your mobile experience has to be exceptional. All right, guys. So this is, if we look at the Goodwill Hunting strategy, you got Facebook, Instagram, Google Ads, and your Google business listing all leading to the website. You also have referrals, word of mouth, signage, everything else leading to your website. You want to run at least 80% on Facebook and Instagram of Goodwill, 20% hunting. You can get up to 60-40 as well, maybe even 50-50 if you want to be super aggressive, but you want to be running those at this exact same time. So you're not switching between the two, they're together. On Google Ads, it's mostly a hunting platform, so it's 100% hunting ads. So don't do a lot of Goodwill. Google Ads works a little bit differently than social media. So when you put all that together, within the first 6 months of us getting a client, we have an average enrollment increase of about 30%. So we have some clients that's average. We have some clients that are in the 300%. So they've tripled how many enrollments they have coming in on a monthly basis. And some, increase, the minimum increase is usually about 18% on a monthly basis. So they're getting 2 extra enrollments for every 10 that they're pulling in. So just to kind of put that in perspective, kind of a monetary, if you've got 70 full-time equivalents, that means you're increased it within 6 months, 96.6 full-time equivalent kids. If you charge an average of about $1,000 a month across your programs, that's like $380,000 a year. So that's not trivial. Talking about quite a bit of money there on the table. So would you spend like 20 grand to get 380? It's probably the best investment you'll ever going to make. So some success tips. First, I've mentioned this a few times, you never stop advertising. You got to think of it as a car. The moment you take your foot off the gas, the car slows down, eventually stops. So we have clients like I've mentioned at the beginning, Courthouse Academy at Virginia Beach. They're 100% full across the board. I emailed Kim about a month and a half ago and she told me that. I said, do you want us to reduce the ad budget? She said, no. I said, why? She goes, I want to stay full. So she goes, I have kids transitioning all the time. I've got, 30% of my preschool graduating. I've got 20% of my elementary school graduating. I need to fill those seats. One seat alone is worth all the money we're spending. So she has a foot on the pedal all the time. She wants to build a continuous waiting list. So she's the most prestigious school in the area. You've got to spend money on social media to make it work. You can't just post things. Like I said, those will only get seen by people who are already fans. On Facebook and Instagram, if you use the boosting button, we call that a one-hit wonder, where it has a time delimitation. So like you boost one post once to an audience. You don't want to do that. That's just like, that's not a system. What you want to use is the ad manager. You want to that develops you a consistent system. This is what the ad manager looks like. And here's 4 campaigns that we always run. We actually have a 5th now. This is a bit of an older screenshot, but you'll see it. When does it end? It doesn't. It's ongoing. So we have unique selling point ads. We've got review ads. We've got Goodwill retargeted, and we've got Goodwill at the top. This is not, it would take me another hour-long webinar to kind of dig into this and explain all this. But these campaigns are continuously running all the time, so they never stop. We just basically, what you're going to do with that 80-20 split, 60-40 split, is how much money you're spending on each. So the average, just to give you kind of another little tidbit, our average client spends about $12 a day. So that's about $340 a month or so on the media that they spend on with an ad manager. On Google, it's about a little bit more than that. About $400 a month. Getting ranked on Google is really challenging, but your Google My Business listing is still important to get reviews on there. So I highly recommend you get reviews on your Google My Business listing. And I highly recommend you buy ads on Google, which gets you that ads placement on the very top. It's fast. You can get an ad running within a couple of days, and it can be very profitable a lot because people are actively searching for you. So those ads do really well. You pay a lot more for those ads. That's why your media budget has to be a bit higher on Google, but they're pure hunting because people are actually actively looking for you. Here are those ads on top. And this is the Google My Business listing. So you definitely want to get those 4 or 5-star reviews down here. And yes, you can ask for them. We recommend doing twice a year, big push. For getting those. We have a whole workshop on doing that, actually. That's quite effective. So your website is a key part of your sales process to convert a visitor into an inquiry, not just an inquiry, but a hot lead. So guys, this is basically a 24/7, 365 marketing engine. I mean, this is kind of the roadmap of what it looks like. If you're doing any other marketing than this, I would suggest rethinking that, where you're spending your time, money, and energy, and just kind of focused in on these elements. These are the ones that we do that drive the most success. We've tested a lot of stuff. We spent a lot of time and money of our own trying new things, and nothing beats kind of this formula. And the whole point is to get a book a tour link at the very end. So, sorry, I just did another 60-40 split during different times, but we've already covered that ad nauseum. So we've covered getting leads through digital marketing. What about enrollments? So leads are great, inquiries are great, but like, how do you actually, convert those into enrollments? Well, that's where your sales process comes in, and that's where someone like Childcare CRM comes in, and that's step 3. And that's the follow-up. So, Now, about 77% of our clients, I did the math last night, use a CRM. The rest use kind of a web form that we built for them that goes to their email. But I gotta be honest with you, the ones that have a CRM tend to enroll about 30% more leads of their leads than those who don't. And it's just, I mean, it just makes sense. Things are in a CRM are just super organized and done and available to you. I mean, you've got automated email campaigns, you've got reminders for your team to follow up and kind of take action, email people, call people, remind people, send them, enrollment packets, etc. You can, on Childcare CRM's platform, people can self-schedule a tour. So in your automated email that goes out to them, there's an opportunity for them to call you, or they can just book a tour directly themselves. You can also streamline your enrollment process by getting them to fill out enrollment details ahead of time. So when they come in, you already have most of their details in your system. And my personal favorite thing about using a CRM, guys, is you got lots of data to show you how to improve. If you think about it, you'll have how many leads you get, how many of those turn into tours, how many people show up for the tour, how many follow-ups, and then how many people enrolled in the end. And you can take a look at that and go from month to month, year to year, as you build up data in your CRM. If you see a decline in one of those percentages, then you might have a problem. Like, for example, if a lot of people are showing up for the tour, but your registration rate drops, it was 40% who show up for a tour used to enroll last year, and this year it's 30%. You're like, whoa, that's a 10%. That's a huge drop. That's 10% overall, but it's actually 25% of your total enrollments have just dropped. You want to look at that and go, okay, what's going on? Oh, last year Susie was giving the tours. This year she's splitting between Susie and Jen. Jen maybe not as good at giving tours. Maybe she's not as aggressive as asking for the sale. Maybe you want to go in and coach Jen and help that kind of become a better process for you. And that's a kind of data that a CRM platform can give you, which is absolutely invaluable. So if you go to one of our websites, like the Small Hands, Big Dreams one, for example, and you click on this Inquire Now button that every single one of our websites has, it takes you to an inquiry form. If you're using a CRM, it'll be a CRM inquiry form. Here's an example that Childcare CRM was kind of shared with me. Kind of a bit more of a generic form, but you can add in as many details or as few as you want on this form. Guys, using a web form rather than just getting them to email you or call you actually increases your general conversion of leads by about 20% just by using a form online, whether it's a CRM form or a form that you build yourself. So just that alone is kind of worth the price of entry generally. You can also do forms for Goodwill. This is a sign up for a monthly newsletter. So you're not actually asking for a tour and e-packet information. Somebody's maybe just kind of interested in getting to know you a little bit more before they need you. So newsletter signups is another great way to build goodwill before folks may be ready for you. So maybe they check you out, saw an ad, but maybe they're thinking 6 months ahead. They don't want to forget about you, so they sign up for your newsletter. This is what a dashboard in CRM could look like. My favorite things about this is a to-do. Your salesperson, and if you have an enrollment specialist or a director or assistant director, or it's yourself who's doing this, you're never going to miss another action again because it's listed here. These are the things you got to do today. Call Jim, call Janice, email John, etc. You've got automation. You can build automated email campaigns. So if somebody asks for more information, you can kick back a series of emails, one a day, that's completely automated, that gets them, encouraged, tells them a little bit more about you, tries to get that automated, a tour booking form filled out. And then obviously the reports, the things I talked about before. So guys, thank you so much for your time today. I really appreciate it. Hopefully I provided you a ton of value. And if you have any more questions and you're interested in what we do, please book a call with us. And actually, whatever you do, just take action. Do something, even if it's one step, one small thing, and implement some of these. Thank you.
And Bruce, we received a few questions throughout the training. So the first one comes from Beth, and she asked, is it appropriate to ask families to do a Google review?
100% appropriate.
Yeah, I'm assuming, in your opinion, when's kind of the best time to ask a family for a Google review?
So we love asking, ask them 6 weeks after they've started with you. That's usually enough time for their child to transition to you and them to see a positive impact. Now, if it was like our son, and he was crying every day for the first 2 months, don't do that, but wait 3 or 4 months and then ask. But In our training for how to get 100+ Google reviews, we recommend turning that into a system. So twice a year, you spend a week where you're asking parents for a review, and you can do competition between your classes. If you have multiple locations, you can do competitions between locations. You can give away prizes. We had assistant director wore a t-shirt for one of her staff, says, ask me what I'll do for a Google review. And so she gave away just some swag that they had, like mugs and t-shirts and stuff with their logos on it. So they got like a double benefit there.
And Charlotte asked, she said the pictures of the children are amazing. And this was in reference to the pictures you were using on Facebook and Google Ads. And she asked, do you get permission from families? And do you have any suggestions about where we can get pictures?
Yeah, so whenever we use stock, so we use stock photos for some things, but we prefer always to use your own photos as much as possible. So on the website, all the photos going down the page are always their own pictures. And sometimes in the header though, if we can't find a really perfect picture that fits, we use a stock photo, but we try and minimize. And then in our advertising, we try almost always use your own pictures, even if they're fuzzy and they're not as good and the lighting's not perfect and they don't look that great. Like here's a picture of my son and my wife took, but she's a professional photographer. So, you know, you don't need super professional shots, but your own pictures will always make the advertising in your website work better. People want to see what it feels like and looks like at your location.
And also regarding Facebook, Laura asked, so why use Facebook if the ads are only good for 6 to 8 weeks? Do we redo those after 6 weeks?
Yeah. So generally, if you think about your parent community, you say you have 100,000 population around the area that you're looking to target. About 7% of parents have kids under the age of 5. So let's imagine your market at 0 to 4, infants, preschoolers. Then you're looking at a market that's about 6,000 parents. 6,000 kids, sorry. So you're targeting maybe 10,000 to 15,000 parents in that community, depending on how many kids they have in a given area. So your total market advertising is 14,000 people, say, at the maximum size. So if they're constantly seeing the same thing again and again and again and again and again and again, for Goodwill, that will saturate. So they can only like and comment on something once or twice. So Goodwill has to continuously be updated. The hunting doesn't have to change every 6 to 8 weeks. The hunting can stay a little bit longer. You can do the same hunting ad or same group of hunting ads, maybe 3 or 4 different varieties for like maybe 8 weeks or 12 weeks. What you don't want to do is you don't want to only do hunting and not do Goodwill. If you only do that for 6 to 8 weeks, Facebook will just stop showing that 14,000 people will dwindle because only maybe 300 or 400 of them are actually in market. So if you're only doing the hunting ads, those 400 might click on it, go to your website, some of them, and the rest, the other 15,000, 13,500, 600 won't. So after 6 to 8 weeks, Facebook will stop showing it to everybody. So Facebook measures how well your ads are doing by how much people engage with them. Engagement is watching, clicking, liking, commenting, sharing, etc.
Awesome. And Grant said, I know it's developed around generating leads for increasing enrollment, but can you do this also for recruiting teachers with Facebook and Instagram on a shorter term or month to month?
Yes. So, okay. So recruiting is a whole other beast, but yes. So you post it. What you want to do with Facebook and Instagram for job posts is you create a job post in the job section on your page. Make it a really catchy looking graphic. So put something really interesting on your graphic, put a superhero, put something fun, dynamic, $500 signing bonus for all lead teachers, something that catches their attention. Keep your job post really short and sweet. You don't need to put, the key to job hunting today is that it is a very tight market and people, you're recruiting the same way you did 5 years ago when there was the reverse, when there was more teachers and fewer jobs. Today there are way more jobs than there are teachers available or assistant teachers or people who want to work in childcare centers. Everybody's looking for people right now. So what you want to do is you want to reverse how you present. You want to do your perks, your benefits, your pay, your culture, how awesome you are as a place to work as the first thing people see. And then secondary is what your minimum requirement is. we had a client today just tell us just before I got on this webinar, she's like, my minimum requirement is they have a pulse. I was like, great, I can find you pulsing people. And then what you want to do is you want to, if you're in a huge city like Chicago, LA, New York, Miami, etc., advertising for jobs on Facebook is impossible, because the minimum radius you can enter is 15 miles. So that will hit like millions and millions of people. But if you've got a town that's 100, 150,000, 200,000 people, and then within 15 miles, it doesn't really go over that because, or maybe it's a rural town and hit some small towns, then you can spend about $100, $200 a day. Not a day, a month. On your ads, and you should get some pretty good results. But if you're in a major metropolitan area, Facebook is not going to be that great. What you want to do with Facebook instead of spending money is you want to get your existing teachers, your friends and family, yourself to share the post with their network. You got to remember, social media, it's called social networks. So that network effect of having people share stuff is extremely powerful. And you could probably drive 2 or 3 extra new staff leads a month just from doing that.